Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week we hear about updates to the flight model, plus scanners, radar, the MobiGlas and the lobby UI updates too. So around the verse this week came from the UK office in Manchester. Chris and Sandy introduced it, just mentioning that they are working hard on Star Citizen 2.6, as well as what we will see at CitizenCon. It is literally a week away. Most excited for this. It's just going to be so exciting. Anyway, the first thing they wanted to tell us about was the scanners and radar updates. Now, at the moment, it's pretty rudimentary. It is a basic combat scanner. It tells you who it is in the ship, how far they are, their signals and so forth. Nothing too amazing, but they say the new scanners and radars are fundamental, especially for careers that are based off of scanners. So things like policing, smuggling, mining and exploration all need specific styles of scanners. Now this isn't just for space either, it is for foot as well. It is being continued in development, especially now with the Aquila coming online. So at the moment we have the basics of infrared and electromagnetics plus cross-section, which are both systematically based on what you are picking up. So each item you have on your ship gives out heat or power, and the radar works out its strength for detection and tells you how much, exactly where it is. FPS, they are adding a decibel signal for sound, so walking and firing, etc. will feed into your radar signal system, and I assume we'll be able to see where the firing is coming from, or a general direction. Now, ships and player radars are very similar, and it looks like from what we can see here it is that you fire it up or charge it up to highlight where targets are, and then you can scan from 0 to 100% to gather intel. The longer you scan, which is the closer it gets to 100%, the more info you'll get, but there's more to it than that. Now we will get into how it works more in Reverse the Verse as they touch up on it a bit more there, but they want to make sure that this is future-proof, so for all these careers that are coming online, it needs to be future-proof because there's a lot more careers that are based off of better scanning capabilities or radars. More utility ships, so think like along the lines of the Terrapin or the Freelancer Dur, the Aquila, the Herald, all these different ships. Even bounty hunters can use the scan to scan ships and see who's on board. The flip side, things for like smugglers though, you need to know how to trick these scanners and disappear off radar, so there's going to be gameplay completely involved in hiding from scanners as well as trying to find people with scanners. Now looking ahead, they say recon and gathering info is one of the big careers that they want people to do, and then you want to be able to bring that back to your fleet, for example, and let them know what's out there. This will also help when planning larger attacks as well. You can send someone off to scan a certain area that you're heading to, find out the force of the fleet that you are approaching, and then send that back to your whole fleet yourself, and you can plan an attack or decide it's probably a bad idea. Also, things that you scan, so if you scan certain asteroid fields or whatever, you can sell this information on, so it's definitely needed to be updated. And again, we'll see more of this, or we'll hear more of this in RTV. So basically, after that, we looked at the Vanguard dropship, which is called the Hoplite, and this is needed for Squadron 42. This is why we are seeing this ship now, because Squadron 42 is set to release at the end of this year. So the center pod, usually on the Vanguards, ejects and other variants can be slotted in. Now this didn't actually work for the dropship, so they've created it as a standalone ship. They said they needed more room for people to walk around in. Also a bigger ramp so that more people can get out at once. Now I think you can actually get 4 people out at once with this ramp, because obviously the ramp in the normal Vanguards are very small, very sort of narrow. The colour of it is the standard UEE green because it is a Squadron 42 ship. Basically has the same weapons, only the internals have changed, and it does look very cool. Tyler Witkin updated us with about the community, so barcitizen.sc is the best website to go for to find all the bar citizens in your event. It has a map, shows you where the local ones are. Highly recommend using that if you are interested in visiting some bar citizens and talking ship with people. I said ship. CitizenCon info page is now on the website as well. This will tell you everything you need to know about CitizenCon, whether you're going or not. I am most excited. I do plan on doing a live stream of the actual event myself. I'm not going to it, but I will be at home, so if you want to join me, do check out my Twitch channel and be sure to follow. We shall sit here and drink beer, drink coffee, whatever you choose, and just get hyped. And most valuable post goes to Leadhead for his 300i sand sculpture. Now that's pretty cool. Some great time spent on the beach there, I can see. So, after that, they wanted to talk about the new flight model improvements. Now, this is something that is coming to Ivacoti pretty soon. So they're basically digging into balance. They want to make sure that everything is balanced across the board. Some ships are still running off an old system. The new ships, are running off the new system. So they've slightly gone back to the drawing board just to make it equal everywhere. They have lowered the SEM speed to make combat more easier to control and make it feel more realistic. At the moment, it is pretty quick and it's difficult to control your ships. The IFCS, which is the Intelligent Flight Control System, which is basically handles all the inputs that you put into your ship and does what you want it to do, is very complicated, but it's also intimidating, especially when you're travelling at about 305 meters a second. So the Gladius now travels, this is the one that they demoed it on, at 140 meters a second in SCM. They said that everything is slower in a dogfight. They've sped up the accelerations, however, and the deaccelerations, and all of this lowers the amount of drift, which is pretty good. I'm happy about that. Racing will seem a lot more fluid. He says everything feels more heavier and has more character. Afterburner changes will be coming in as well, so the fuel limit will be tweaked so people use it more. It is basically just to be used to escape only now and then, so you don't want to abuse it though, because then if you can run out of fuel quickly. Testing is mainly positive, apparently, from internals. The patches come into Ivacoti soon, like I said, so they'll get their hands on it, and then it'll come to everyone else. Ship flight and handling is the main fundamental, and they really want to get it right. Well, from here, they'll start balancing weapons and shields, basically just balancing everything across the board to make sure that it is accurate. There'll also be some missile changes, so the current missile racks are bespoke to many ships, so a particular missile rack will only fit on a particular ship. You should be able to choose racks from different sizes. So if you have more missiles, then they'll be smaller. If you have less missiles, they'll be larger missiles. Just, again, a bit of a balancing act going on there. Plus, it makes it a lot more simpler to swap out. They are working on missile sizes and correcting them. Missiles will be connected and disconnected from the racks properly and will look very cool when fired. I really can't wait to see that. This also goes for weapons as well. They're getting them all balanced properly, getting the current weapons sorted first, and then the new weapons and weapon types will be sorted eventually. So to finish off with, we looked at the new lobby and the MobiGlas UI, which is, again, they say it needed a full overhaul, so they have practically built it from scratch. For 2.6, he says feedback is great so far. You can match up with friends and get into a lobby much quicker. You can customize your marine. We even saw a little watermelon helmet. I'm not even sure if that's a real thing. Maybe it's a watermelon. But again, you can get unique loadouts for factions, so your UEE or your pirates. We also saw a ship customization screen as well, which looks pretty cool. You'll be able to spin your ships around, focus on a particular item or area of your ship, swap out that component with all the stats as well, so you know exactly what you're putting in there. There's going to be a lot of customization, and it's not going to be something you can just go in and quickly swap out. You're going to have to pay a lot of attention to and make sure that it has all the right things that you need for the mission ahead. Leaderboards from the web will be getting into game too, so you no longer have to leave the game to go to the web page to see who's doing what where. You can do it all within the game. They will try to build a bigger feature set as well as matchmaking, so this is all cool. But for the MobiGlas, they're working on a prototype in-game at the moment. The mission management and inventory systems is what they are working on now. They wanted to make sure that the Moby feels more in-world, so more diegetic. Because basically you are utilising your arm, so it's not a weird loading screen. It is practically your arm is coming out and it's projecting this into the game world. And people can see that you're using your MobiGlas. Whether or not you can see exactly what they're using, I don't know. It doesn't look like it. But they want it to be more a part of you. So you'll be able to choose what colour you want, a bit like in Fallout, which is nice. Just a little touch to make it so that it's more customizable. When it comes to your home screen, you can actually customize and add different apps depending on what you want. You will have all these different blocks that you want, where you want to display certain read-only status updates for that particular slot. So for example, your money, your cargo, maybe the star map, all these sort of things. You can just drag the app into the place and then it'll stay there. It is very much work in progress. After 2.6, they'll get it out to us. They're hoping for about 3.0, and I really can't wait for this. It looks very, very cool. Anyway, that was around the verse from the UK. Let's get on to the RTV, because this again updates us more, delves further into what we've just been talking about. So kicking off Reverse the Verse, again from the UK, we have technical designers talking to us about the new flight model. Now they say that they take the ships from the very early stages, so even from concept, so that they can spot things early and just make sure that they, if they can see something arising in the future, they get that addressed as early as possible to save time later on. They have recently worked on missiles and weapon system, refactoring them slightly, making tweaks to just make them feel more unique. Now, refactoring is a normal process in game development. Things change throughout the development and they keep things balanced constantly to make sure that it follows akin to everything else that is going on. Now, they did mention, to sort of clear things up, they have not changed the flight model itself. That is staying the same. It's more changing the attributes like its speed, rotations and so forth. So the flight model is still the same, so there's no updates to that. You don't have to relearn anything. Anyway, the question and answers, kicking off with the first one being, will new flight be different in Arena Commander compared to the persistent universe? And they say no, it will all feel exactly the same throughout all modes. New changes for Arena Commander may just be to add cruise mode if the Arena Commander maps get a little bigger. They may also add things like fuel pickups, or, ammo pickups. Anyway, next question. Was different controller setups taken into consideration? And they say yes, they need to make sure that every device is tested. One of the designers actually has loads of peripherals on his desk to ensure that they all work well with all the new changes. But also, every dev in the office have their own particular preference for controllers and constantly give them feedback. So next question is, flight speeds are slowing to make combat more immersive, less jousting. Will missiles be slowed? And they say they don't want you to be able to escape missiles too easily. It needs a lot of balance. They can't say exactly how they're going to do it yet, but they are looking into that. So don't worry, they will have it balanced. Next question is, we only have 10 seconds of boost fuel. Will we get more? And they say yes, they want you to have more fuel for boosting an afterburner, but the afterburner will prove very useful in a combat situation, so it sounds like we're going to need that a little bit more than we have been using it. Next question, have the changes impacted any larger ships? And he says no, not really, because due to the sheer mass of the ships, they still feel like massive ships. The speed hasn't really affected them because they are quite slow and sluggish, and the acceleration isn't too great either, so no change there. Question after that, do the new speeds change the blackout or redout thresholds? And he says no, afterburner still covers that more if you are using it to its limits. Bringing the speeds down mean that you're less likely to hit those thresholds, but the speed reduction is more to make it feel more playable. It's still being tested, so it's not like further changes won't come. This is still not final, so they will be testing it now. If it doesn't feel right, they will change it back, or they'll change it or tweak it a little bit more. So do not worry when they make these changes. If they don't like it, or we don't like it, they will alter it more. So final question for these guys, how will weapon ranges be adjusted? And they say they'll change per weapon basis, so they're not all going to be the same. It's all pretty similar to what it is now. So for range, like long range, you've got cannons, repeaters are somewhere in the middle, Gatling guns are somewhere at the lower end. They are putting and testing them in game now. Ranges should reduce if speeds are slowing. So for example, they said the cannons, being a size 5 cannon, will be around 4,000 to 5,000 meters, I assume. So they will change things as time goes on. So after that, we spoke about the new UI system, again to some technical designers. They are currently working on cargo, so radar and scanning needs to be affected for that, so you can scan people's ships and see what they are carrying. They are looking at exploration as well. They're also working on CitizenCon stuff to show off, looking more into Star Marine. Anyway, the first question that they had was to do with the golf swing scanning style, and, where did that come from? And he mentions that this is totally a first implementation. It is just a way to expose hidden ships. So basically you'll charge a pulse and release. Then it will agitate all the signatures of the ships for about 5 to 6 seconds, and then they will fade away again. So it's kind of like it will show you where these things are coming from, but if you do not click on them quickly enough, they will disappear and you'll have to then charge and pulse again. Basically hunting for ships. The longer though you hold the pulse down, the further the range of the scan. However, if you hold it too long and push your luck too far, it will fail. Plus, it will blow out your radar and send out a signal that you are there. So it'll basically reveal your position. Again, this isn't a done deal, just first implementation. And this is obviously a non-combat system. So in a single-seater ship, you have control of everything. So it's obviously simplified. On a capital ship, finding the ships or escape pods, for example, of a survivor, you'll have far more tools for you to do this. You're not just going to be sat there, though, pressing a button and hoping for the best. There will be far more finesse to this. They're also looking at being able to scan way beyond what the scanners can reach at the moment, so really long-range scanners. There are some far more exciting things coming, he says. Ships will have more signals soon as well. With Item 2.0, the ship customization will really increase this, so currently you can either detect things or you can't. Soon there will be a shade of grey, and when fully implemented it will just be a career in itself. He says, think kind of submarine warfare. If you ping and get it wrong, it'll point out where you are and leave you blind. So next question, how will stealth and anti-scanning work? So, in terms of stealth, as you know, currently we have infrared, electromagnetic, and cross-section. These are all the signatures we have at the moment. So cross-section kind of is more to do with how large your ship is, because obviously, you know, a ship on one angle can be quite small, but then you turn it around. It's basically the silhouette of your ship. That is your cross-section. Hull plating, he says, may disguise you against the background. Heat masking for your equipment may also help against infrared. Buying or, you know, you can buy or salvage these parts and then fit them to your ship. For example, a stealth power plant may have like a low electromagnetic field, but provide less power. So when you're kitting out your ships, you'll need to take these signatures into consideration, again, for the job that you want. So if you have quite a stealthy job to do, you don't want to have a really high-powered power plant, which will just send off so much electromagnetic field that people can see you wherever. Your radar basically detected them using the Gulf swing, but then your scanner is then scanning that particular ship and gathering all the information about, you know, who's on board, what it's carrying, its name, you know, so on, what type of ship it is, so on and so forth. He said staying quiet is very important for this reason. So the longer you are undetected, the longer that you can gather the information from the contact, which is your sort of progress bar, you know, the 1 to 100%. To counter this, though, you can attach items to your items, for example, like hardening. So he said if you had a cargo container, you could harden that and then it will be difficult for them to detect what's behind it. Hull plating will also slow down how quickly you can be scanned. The same goes for shielding, but also, you know, the best thing, if you can hide behind asteroids or certain things and break line of sight, then that's very, very useful. So next question. If I am scanned on foot, will zigzagging away from that scanner, from the person scanning me, help? If you are being scanned from above, then probably not. But if you have eyes on in dead center, then it will just be easy to get scanned. If they are running away, it may take longer because it is proximity based as well. But if you are hiding behind stuff, then yes, there's no way he can scan you if you jump behind something. But again, you can harden your gear as well on foot. It's not just for ships, so you can harden your spacesuit or particular areas that you're carrying things, you know, and then you won't be able to pick them up. Zigzagging, he says, though, you're better off attacking the guy. It's easier just to do that. The possibility of not knowing you're being scanned is also a thing, so you could have a device that will be very sensitive to scans, and if you are being scanned, then that will inform you and you can do something about it. If you are a smuggler, you'll need a good scan detector. For the Terrapin, for example, will be scanning from a distance without anyone knowing that they are being scanned. But again, if you have a good scan detection system, then you'll know. It's all about swings and roundabouts. So you could have a really good scanning system and not let anyone know. But if they have a very good scan detection system, then they will know. So it's very difficult to... It's going to have a lot of gameplay involved, basically. So next question, can you fake a larger electromagnetic field or cross-section, maybe pose as a larger ship to put people off? And he says, cross-section, this will be quite difficult. Electromagnetic is possible as your items will build up a little pool, like a backup pool, to stop it all being released at once. But then you can empty that and refill, so you can have kind of like a larger pulsating electromagnetic signature. Same goes for IR. With cross-section, though, it's all three-dimensional. So the Sabre, he said, for example, will look quite tiny on the side. However, from above, it will look quite much larger ship. After that, the next question was, how does scanning other objects work? So, for example, asteroids. Now, this is pretty cool. He says, asteroids have a built-in huge cross-section. Stars have heat, so you'll most likely already be able to detect them straight away. If you scan with your basic combat scanner, which is what we're using at the moment, you'll just see that it's a rocky asteroid, whereas if you install a mining scanner, then this will show you more information about mining. Again, if you install an exploration scanner, then you'll gather some other info. He basically gave an example that you could have a freelancer, a carrack, and a prospector side by side, all looking at the same asteroid. Now, the freelancer may detect that it's a rock of this particular size. The carrack can see it's more than that. It can see the particular compositions of minerals, whereas the prospector can basically tell you exactly where the minerals are located. You could take an Aurora and put a mining scanner on it, and then you'll have the same effect as a prospector of finding these mineral pockets and where they are located, but because you can't have a mining tool on your Aurora, you can't mine it, so you would just have the information which you could then sell or use and come back later in a prospector, or even just tell an org. So your scanners are going to be very important, and it will be specific to the job you are doing. So you can't just have a universal scanner and go off and expect the best results. You need to be able to swap your ships out for what you want it, for the specific role you are attending. So next question, are there also going to be different resolutions of scanners? So maybe a low res can only see one ship instead of 3, for example. And he says, for example, if you are near something that is hot, then the infrared will be, completely obscured and will not be able to see you. However, things like a military grade scanner, which is your top of the line scanners, will be possible to detect you a little better. So it may pinpoint you out because you're closer, maybe, rather than actually at the star. It's not something for the immediate future, but it is something for the future. So they will be looking into that. So second to last question, how will scanners work in a party? Will the scanner share the results with other players and other ships? Very important question. And he says definitely in some ships. If you are in the same party, then, there's more likely chance of this. They're not exactly sure how yet. They are looking into transmitting between ships. They want the ability to share information. So, for example, if 2 people are covering 2 separate areas, then they want to be able to share that information between each person. So it will come, just, we don't know when. So final question, will scanners have the same tiers as weapons? And they say yes, but they're more sort of different grades. So grade A, grade B, plus different kinds. So you've got military, which have a great ability but very expensive. Stealth, which will have less emissions, but again, a lesser ability as well. Industrial will have a high output, but lots of emissions. Civilian scanners will be sort of middle of the range. They will have different manufacturers and so forth. Competition is one as well. This will be the best at what they do, but very specific. So, for example, thrusters, competition thrusters are great for racing, but the price and output will be very, very high. So this is the level of detail they're going to for customizing your ships. It isn't just going to be a simple thing of, well, this is the best one I found so far, so let me put that on there. It will be specific to the mission you are trying to do, or your play style. Anyway, that was Reverse the Verse. Some great information there regarding scanners. I really cannot wait to get my hands on these things. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let's move on. So also this week, we had a new Bug Smashers. This is episode 33, in which Mark tackles an enter ship animation bug. We had a new Kaizen post titled Mobilizing Militias. I'm still to read this though. This month's subscriber town hall was featuring the Austin devs. I will bring a separate video out later on this week, so do hang on for that if you don't want to watch it yourself. As mentioned before, there was a post bringing you all the details for CitizenCon this year. Do give it a read whether you are going or not. It will explain what is going to happen. Very, very excited. Don't know if I've said that already. Finally, Galactic Tour has a winner, which is the Sabre. This is now available to buy for a limited time. It's about $170, I believe. If you wanted one, pick one up. So, I am in the process of thinking up new series of videos for YouTube. I feel I have not given YouTube enough attention, so I'm going to start bringing out new series. Not just based on Star Citizen, but in terms of Star Citizen, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. If you have any ideas for videos, please leave a comment and let me know, and I'll see if it's something I'm able to do. But I will be bringing bite-sized news videos highlighting specific bits like mechanics that I take from Star Citizen Sunday. So what I hear on ATV and RTV. Going into detail about how these mechanics may work, what I think about them, what sort of gameplay they're likely to bring. I'm also looking to do a beginners series of videos to help out newer citizens with their ships and the systems, because this game is going to get very complicated. So breaking it down is going to be very useful. Again, please let me know if you have any ideas. As I say, I can't do them all. I will pick ones that I specifically feel passionate about. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.